And Mexico may also have to work on its diplomatic ties, especially those with Washington. The U.S. is currently struggling with a brutal record drought, and it may need water from Mexico. The two countries signed a treaty 70 years ago requiring both sides to share water supplies. But with Mexico suffering its own dry spell, both countries may find themselves at odds. CCTV's Ginger Vaughn has the story.
Parched West Texas looks like many drought-stricken areas along the U.S.-Mexico border. Farmers depend on irrigation, but many remember when it wasn't so bad.
This drainage ditch here had about 3 feet of water in it, basically year-round.
Navin Navadomskis, a sixth-generation landowner in El Paso, has been on a farming hiatus and only recently got back into raising corn.
This year, there wasn't enough water for this whole area to farm basically anything. So all of this land that you can see here, which is several thousand acres, nothing was planted. The corn was okay because it's a shorter growing season. But the big crops here are cotton, alfalfa, and pecans, and you need water starting like in March, which we didn't get.
Years of drought conditions across the western U.S. have strained water tables and depleted rivers and reservoirs from California to Arizona to Texas. The problem extends past borders. A water treaty signed between U.S. and Mexico nearly 70 years ago calls for both countries to help each other out by sharing in times of surplus and shortage. While the U.S. is obliged to give Mexico water from the Colorado River, Mexico in exchange must release water from the Rio Grande and its tributaries. The U.S. section of the International Boundary and Water Commission says Mexico isn't holding up its side of the bargain.
We started the 5-year cycle in 2010 with full reservoirs. 2011 turned around as an incredible drought year, and there was very little precipitation in 2011. And so we started seeing then Mexico began getting behind in its water deliveries to the United States. The deficit right now is about 350 million cubic meters.
That deficit is more than all the water consumed in a year by the 1.5 million residents in this area of the Rio Grande Valley in Texas. But Mexico claims it can't share what it doesn't have, and that its own drought makes compliance with the treaty impossible.
Water is scarce here, especially during winter. In the spring and summer months, water is released for irrigation, but how much depends on supply. During last year's drought, the irrigation period was just 6 weeks, and this year wasn't much of an improvement.
Which has pushed landowners like Navadomskis to rent land to other farmers who are more optimistic about the future of water. Ginger Vaughn, CCTV, El Paso, Texas.